We're gonna take a peek at Inhuman resources. Weird. Cameraman did that too. Where it was like I clicked out of the game and then I clicked back into the game and then it just like loaded. Was it Cameraman that did it? Yeah, it was Cameraman. It was weird. Finnegan Joyce. No, you know what? I was gonna enter something, but hang on. No, I like Finnegan Joyce. We're going with Finnegan Joyce. There are 3 deaths. The first is when the body ceases to function. The second is when the body is consigned to the grave. The third is that moment sometime in the future when your name is spoken for the last time. Too real. Do we have options? We do. They even have a text size option. Let's go. Well, let's see how loud this ends up being. The phone call. Scree scree, an all too familiar screeching reverberates inside your brain. The noise comes in waves, the pain follows suit. You try your best to ignore both, but the mere fact you've acknowledged the awful sound means it's already won. Your phone's alarm is simply much too loud to ignore. Defeated, your eyelids peel apart like sheets of rotting Velcro, blinking back a bad night's bleary haze. You lie in bed, awake, against your consent. The room is almost pitch black, save for the intermittent flashing of your phone's screaming screen. A rancid, if routine stench of unwashed bedsheets bids you bittersweet good morning. You're home for better or worse, mostly the latter these days. Just once you wish you'd wake up somewhere else instead. Just once you wish time would ask permission before racing ahead. But your phone doesn't care about what you want. Scree scree! The insufferable screeching drills deeper into your skull. You throw back your dirty blankets, blindingly reaching for the misbegotten beast. Pick up the phone. Wait. Oh! The slab of thumb-smudged plastic feels comfortable in your palm. Most call the device ancient, but to you it's cozy and familiar, like an old, if outdated, friend. No oversized touchscreen, no fancy graphics card from mobile games, no constant access to so G network. Just a simple tool with a cute antenna that still allows you time to disconnect. You've always appreciated the old and the analog, despite the wider world's obsession with digitized progress. There's sincerity in physicality, a warmth to an object's weight. You'll cling to this relic for as long as you can. Sensible upgrades be damned. Scree scree, you fiddle with the phone, desperate to stop the alarm. But no matter which button you press, the shrieking will not end. That's because this isn't your alarm at all, it's your ringtone. Squinting in the darkness, you barely make out the caller's ID. It's your aunt. Aunt/landlady, technically speaking. Hopefully, just your aunt today. The woman is exhausting enough when she isn't asking for rent payments, no matter how overdue they are. Still, should you really ignore a call from the one person still willing to support you between jobs? I'll accept the call. Static crackles as your obsolete cell phone struggles to connect. After a sharp click, you mumble a hesitant hello. Hey there, sweetie. Sorry for calling you out of the blue. Hope I'm not interrupting lunch. The scratchy facsimile of her bombastically condescending voice greets you on the line's other end. No mistaking your dear auntie. But what's this about? Lunch? You flick on a light and glance towards your microwave's LED clock display. A shameful number stares back at you from the room's abyss. 1:29 p.m. You wince and make up a half-baked lie, pretending to talk with your mouth full. Your aunt doesn't seem to buy it. Well, I'm pretty sure you're very busy with job applications today, so I'll get straight to the point. Do you have any idea when you'll be able to send me last month's rent? I know money's been tight lately, but it's already the 31st. One missed payment is bad enough, but 2? Shit, landlady it is. You feel yourself deflate, glancing to the tower of rejected job applications standing proud and precarious upon your messy desk. The top sheet almost grazes your modest apartment ceilings. Your aunt suggested to print each refusal, claiming they'd make your eventual hiring all the more rewarding. You found that harder and harder to believe since the letters started to outnumber the dollars in your bank account. Take it for zippies.
Así mi clamo.
Sweetie, do you have some kind of estimate for me? I would really need an answer today. I shall beg for more time to pay. You swallow your pride. It goes down easy. There isn't much left. For the 100,000th millionth time, you swear to send your aunt the money the second you get a steady paycheck. Until then, there's no way you can conjure cash out of thin air. An uncomfortable silence lingers over your phone speaker. After several tortuous seconds, a disappointed sigh comes through. Sweetie, I let you rent that place to give you a second chance, not to keep enabling this shameful do-nothing behavior of yours. Honestly, I'd be more than willing to forgive delays if I knew you were actually trying. But you can't expect me to believe you've been pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and giving this job hunt all you've got when you've been living in a pigsty for the past year. Pigsty? You deflect the woman's accusations, blabbering in desperate denial, but as your eyes drift over the sorry state of your apartment, the ramblings soon turn to tragic silence. You've been immune to the stench for a few months now, but no amount of time will ever make you blind to the altars of wretchedness your neglect has erected. On the floor, crumpled stacks of crusty laundry in the unmopped ground like landmines in an active war zone. At your desk, fly swarm styrofoam containers amalgamate themselves into awkwardly unstable modern art installations. Your largest one can only be referred to as the Leaning Tower of Takeout. In the kitchen, filthy cookware overflows from your sink. And in your fridge, the outdated contraption hums like a thermonuclear lawnmower, even though you damn know well it's not keeping anything cold. Maybe ketchup packets if you're lucky. I forgot to read the whole thing of kitchen. A layer of film has formed on the surface, thick as the crust of a creme brulee. Pigsty or not, there's no denying that this whole unemployment business has been taking a serious toll. One that's gone on long enough for your aunt's pity to become well-deserved contempt. Well, what do you have to say for yourself? It's not your fault those stupid companies won't hire overqualified geniuses. She's right, you're scum. Worse than scum. She should just evict you and get it over with. You're sick of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. Can't someone else pull them for you? These are all terrible. You know what? Let's just... I'm not going to say I'm an overqualified genius. Sure, just evict me. You throw yourself into a dramatic tirade detailing your utter lack of worth, the hopelessness of human existence, and the filthy trash room ditch you deserve to die in, preferably alone. By the time your aunt gets a word in edgewise, your face is slick with tears and mucus, your heart tight into painful knots. Enough. I'm sorry, alright. I didn't mean to be so harsh. Now calm down, please. Sounds like she's begging out of irritation more than worry for your well-being, but you listen nonetheless, taking time to control your breathing and wipe away strings of snot. The phone crackles with warbled noises. Your aunt lets out a groan. Good grief, I know this mental health nonsense you keep talking about is a big deal, but you gotta get it together and take action somehow. This is too real. You can't just keep using mood swings as an excuse to escape responsibility. Yeah, it's mood swings. Yeah, that's what it is. That choice will get you nowhere. It's totally a choice to be mentally ill. You have acquired clinical depression. You brace yourself as the woman prepares to deliver her most frequent, most frustrating spiel. You could probably repeat it word for word if you were ever held at gunpoint. Remember, sweetie, in our world, choices matter. The big ones and the small ones. We can't always take those decisions back, and we can't always control their consequences either, which means we have to choose carefully. You most certainly have not been doing that. But if you have any intention of getting yourself out of this mess, you need to start making the right decisions, and soon. You hang your head and nod, gulping down your last trickle of self-respect. Hearing this speech frequently doesn't make it any easier to hear. Anywho, enough of that. The real reason why I'm calling is because I might have an opportunity for you. You can tell by her inflection she means a job opportunity. Your reaction is practically Pavlovian. You salivate at the thought of your unrelenting financial woes finally coming to an end. You grip the cell phone tighter, aching with an anticipation.
See, there's this problem employee at our company. He works at one of the local branches right next to where you live, but the man has a terrible attitude and is even more terrible when it comes to, well, whatever it is you think we do over there.
You picture her limply waving a wrist in some vague, dismissive pattern. More of the highly confidential stuff she can't share, but brags about anyway. Not that you're entirely sure that what your aunt actually does for a living to begin with. Something to do with human resources, maybe?
Needless to say, we'll be laying off the little sourpuss as soon as a fitting replacement is found, but we need that replacement fast. Company has a big business deal coming up. Can't afford to be short on staff right now. Luckily, I happen to know a certain someone in dire need of a job, and this position happens to be entry level, no major qualifications needed. It even comes with a sterling letter of recommendation from yours truly. Now, this won't be an easy job. Supervisors are very strict, and anxiety has a way of following you home. But so long as you nail the interview, you're basically guaranteed stable income for as long as you need it. Smyrna Core isn't prone to random layoffs. So how about it, sweetie? Shall I schedule something for you?
I mean, I need something. So threats, then the bait and hook. High stress environment or not, it beats homelessness by a country mile. You agree to the offer with ravenous insistence. The woman breathes a sigh of relief and lets out a nervous laugh. It almost sounds like she's in ecstatic disbelief. Yeah, because nobody fucking believes that you're doing shit. Anyway.
Thank goodness you have no idea what it means to hear you say that, dear. You're literally saving my life.
You should probably be the one telling her that, but you won't complain about receiving gratitude instead of judgment for once. Without missing a beat, your aunt hammers at her computer's keyboard, drafting you an email. You clamber your way out of bed, tripping over day-old takeout and mounds of dirty underwear as you rush towards your laptop.
I've booked the earliest appointment I could find. You should get an email with the time, address, and job description soon. Be sure to read everything carefully and do not be late. Mr. Burgard will skin me alive if I send him another unpunctual idiot. Oh, and be sure not to mention that whole depression nonsense during the interview. It might make Mr. Burgard think he needs to fix you.
Fix you? Rather than offer answers, your aunt whispers farewell.
Good luck, sweetie. I hope you'll forgive me for this someday.
Click. The line goes deathly silent, save for a droning dial tone. You get an urge to call her back, but the ding of an invitation appearing in your inbox catches your attention first. Uh-oh. Your interview is today at 4 p.m. sharp, no less. You curse under your breath, rushing to shower and get dressed. Your stack of rejection letters gets knocked over by your charge and scatters across the room in a whirlwind of standard issue responses. You beg with every fiber of your being not to come home with a new failure to add onto the pile. Well, that's not foreshadowing at all, right? Chapter complete. Proceed to waiting room. The packed, full city transit bus comes to a creaking stop right in front of an old building you've never seen before. Shoving your way past crowded commuters, you step onto an empty sidewalk. The vehicle roars away, fading into the misty afternoon and leaving you utterly alone. You briefly wonder if getting off here was a mistake. You review your aunt's documents, poring over the civic number, street name, and postal code as though every character were a cipher to some secret code. By the time you finish your third revision, you're forced to concede. This must be the right address, but it's not remotely what you expected. Nestled between two gleaming skyscrapers, it's a much smaller, much stranger building. There's the unnerving facade. Glazed gray brickwork and pale-veined marble unites to form a vast web of extravagant monochrome patterns. But despite all the details, the sum total gives off a sense of cold, calculated purpose, almost like an anarchic graffiti artist was hired to redesign a palliative care center. The decorative windows, as you climb the front steps, a set of circular gold-tinted portholes stare down at you. They are unblinking, like the eyes of giant deep sea squids. The glass is too opaque to see through, yet you suspect someone's on the other side watching you approach. The massive front gates, made from half-ton hunks of glistening cast iron, the double doors have been decorated with an intricate bas relief of skyscrapers swimming in fog. Bas relief? I always forget. Bit ironic for such a stout little edifice. and the bronze door knocker. And the alloy has been smelted into the shape of a crowned king's severed head. The object looks so realistic, you're scared it will be warm and wet to the touch. Unfortunately, you see no keypads, handles, or ID scanners that would allow for easier entry. The local branch of Smirnocore is only 4-story tall, yet it feels impossibly imposing. It's caught between outdated aesthetics and timeless sensibilities, somehow both outrageous yet invisibly subtle, as if meant to be forgotten at a passing glance, and to haunt those whose gazes linger. You suspect you may be underdressed. Your clothes aren't filthy, of course. If anything, they're rather chic, or at least they used to be. Neither time nor depression have been kind to your apparel. For all the class your best outfit once had, overuse has worn it down to a discolored, threadbare husk. Meanwhile, lack of money, motivation, and belief you're worthy of nice things has prevented you from buying new clothes for the better part of 2 years. Regardless, what you've got will have to do. The hour of your interview approaches. You won't have cash to afford a better outfit until this job is yours. Oh, excuse me. Have I ever been contacted for voice acting or audiobook narrations? I have not. No, I have not. No.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
Regardless, until the job is yours. Reach for the knocker and bang it against the door. The bronze object booms against the iron gates even harder than your thumping heart. Moments later, something clicks and a latch comes undone. The doors groan themselves open, inviting you inside. You step into the building and are greeted by what seems to be a 5-star hotel's reception area. The room is utterly massive, with high ceilings that would rival a Renaissance church's cavernous belly. Its windows let no sunshine through, and no fluorescent light bulbs fill it with their pale glare. There are just low-hanging chandeliers and an array of green glass banker lamps, bathing the room in burnt orange. Upholstered sofas and coffee tables dot the space like islands, forming a winding path that leads to the room's distant depths. There, a woman stands behind a desk, flanked on each side by grillage elevators. The sharp machine gun clatter of her mechanical keyboard echoes across the room.
Hey there, Roses. How's it going? Thank you for the raid. It's good to see you. What were you up to tonight? Hi, Sassy.
Step Rose go raid.
How's it going?
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Marley. I'm the incarnation of the curse that lingers over this place, known as the Haunt. Hang out for freaks, misfits, and other weirdos. We play a lot of horror and horror-adjacent stuff here. We are currently playing a demo for a game called Inhuman Resources. Victor, welcome in. But if anyone needs to raid and run, especially Rose, if you need to lurk, if you need to get your sleep, please do take care of yourself. Get your D-stream on. Hey there, Barrett. Welcome in, guys. I hope stream went well. I appreciate you bringing your people over. We are poor schmuck, poor unemployed schmuck who's very depressed. We acquired clinical depression because of our choices. It's too real. We're going to a job interview at Smirnocore.
Oh, yeah, get cozy, get comfy. Please do take care of yourselves.
You appreciate the old and analog, but Smirnocore's apparent fondness is downright ridiculous. Hopefully, the receptionist won't feel the same way about your subpar outfit. Pretend to be confident. Adjust your crappy clothes and meekly we will stride with confidence. With a little luck, it'll read as self-assurance instead of total fucking delusion. The dim lighting becomes dimmer the further you go, and thick shadows close in on you like claustrophobic walls.
Next fest demos? Yes!
Well, this is our second day doing them. I had to split them up into two because I had two I wanted to do with chat. They've been okay. Day one was more the ones that I was like super hyped for, and these are like more like experimental. I don't know what to expect ones. Let's see, we played... What did we do first? We did Tormented Souls 2. It was fine. It felt nice. Like, it had a good feel to it. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a very old school survival horror style, like Resident Evil kind of thing. There was a Tormented Souls 1. Now they're making a 2. I like the protagonist, even though I'm not like super into the first game. We played Cameraman the pilot episode, which is like a weird. I desperately need look sensitivity and know how to head bob in it, but you like use your camcorder and you walk on like weirdly placed steps. I don't know. It's a kind of a puzzle game, but you're like looking through a camcorder the whole time. Fractured Shimmer seems like it might be interesting. And then we tried to play Signal Intentions because I like creepy Spot the Difference games, but oh man, even turning off the effects, the head bob and the screen tearing was just so intense. After a few minutes, I didn't even find anomalies. I didn't get a game over. I didn't get nothing. I just had to just turn it off because it was giving me a headache. So now we're doing Inhuman Resources. Wall-to-wall carpeting squishes under your feet, and an unfamiliar ammonia aroma assails your flared nostrils. Whatever they use to clean the place smells strong enough to double as a bioweapon, but still isn't enough to erase the lingering stench of cigarette smoke. The off-putting odor does suit the outdated decor, however.
You were talking about Ferality? Oh, yeah! It's Pride and you wanted to share the love and hype with us and I enjoyed the vibes. Hell yeah, it's good to see you. I hope you've been doing good. I hope you've been well. Happy Pride, everybody. Hell yeah. What? Okay. Happy Pride. Hell yeah. Except for those unsettling sculptures carved into the room's concrete support pillars, disturbing shapes that assail you from all sides, emerging like the shadows, like pretentious interpretations of 21st century demons. Amazing. I forgot. Sigs went to bed. Let me get you. I know the bot does the basic one, but it doesn't do this one. There we go. Everybody go check out Rose. Lovely, lovely poison.
On your left, headless nude bodies are contorted in pain as veins sprout through their skin like a tree's sprawling roots. On your right, a bleak rendition of what you assume to be Babel's tower has been built out of steel girders, electrical wiring, and bones. Up ahead, you see human skulls whose scalps have exploded, revealing interwoven helixes of DNA strands and binary code. The fuck is this place? What happened to good old-fashioned gargoyles? Unsettled by your surroundings, your eyes drift back to the woman working the reception desk. There are letters engraved in the wall above her, spelling out a slogan in twinkling silver font. Memoriae perpetuitas mutatio. Mutatio. You don't know much about corporate branding, let alone Smirnocor's specific suite of services, but you're not sure how effective that cryptic slogan must be. Okay, hey, wait. I'm going to... No, I'm gonna... I mean... Make sure my Latin's very rusty.
Very rusty,
but so I'm not sure about mutatio.
Dun, 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 dun.
So memories. Perpetuity, yeah. Memories, perpetuity. What is mutatio? Change. That makes sense. Because I was like, mutate? Yeah, change. Memories, perpetuity, change. You hoped your ONS documents would have provided insight. Instead, they were mostly full of vapid statements about connecting modern businesses with industry-leading talent, or some such variation of the standard corporate tripe. You wave hello to the receptionist, but she doesn't even flinch. Her gaze remains glazed over, wholly focused on her work. She's younger than you first thought. Maybe 30, likely not quite. Sickly pale with sleep-deprived bags under her eyes, each one darker than the acrylic of her tidy black turtleneck. Her hair is knotted into a dainty bun, her fingers devoid of polish or rings. They move across her keyboard like demented tap dancers. Wait, no, not her keyboard, her typewriter. It's a really, really old one, made from brass, black plastic, and way too many moving parts. A relic from the 1800s that looked like it barely scraped through both world wars. And you thought your laptop was getting old. There's also a small desk bell glimmering on the counter. Maybe you should... She's a secretary, not a Victorian era maid. Just say hi like a normal person. I'm gonna say hi instead of bringing it. You had fun with the VR Furry Con. You actually got to make a pretty mango sun dragon and a dream dragon. Ooh, that sounds fun. I love that VR has become like another way for people to like hold events and make it more accessible to more people. Because not everybody can leave the house. So that's awesome. Let's see. You meant to whisper a polite greeting. Nervousness turns it into a shout. The woman's head snaps forward as though hit by an electric shock. She flashes you a beaming, not quite pearl-white smile. Welcome to Smirnocore. Do you have an appointment? The words barely seep through the woman's gritted teeth. Her grin is so tight it hurts to watch. Okay, so wait, hang on. Welcome to Smirnocore. That's hard. That's hard to do. But there's no trace of frustration. She's the dictionary definition of too friendly, made uncomfortably manifest. Unsettled, you stumble your way through an explanation of your aunt's referral. The receptionist replies with a nod, squinting as she reads the writing on her typewriter's latest sheet. Of course, we've been expecting you. I'm afraid Mr. Burgard is running a little late this afternoon. He'll need a few more minutes until he's ready to speak with you, but you're more than welcome to peruse our visitor handbooks while waiting. She gestures to a set of nearby couches and a table chock full of company pamphlets, but you're more surprised to notice someone else already sitting there. A young man with a bitter look etched into his furrowed face. Could this be... another applicant for the job? Shit, your aunt never mentioned competition, and if they turn out to be competent, you could be in big trouble. Your bleak musings are cut short by the receptionist's unpainted nails tapping at her name tag. I'm Melusine, by the way. I'll call you as soon as Mr. Burgard becomes available. In the meantime, please let me know if you have any questions. With a grateful, albeit embarrassed nod, you walk away and slump into an old-fashioned sofa, Melusine's rickety typewriter clacking away once more. The couch's cushions feel quite stiff, or maybe your stressed clenched back does. Considering the ferocious stare-down you're receiving from the stranger seated across from you, it could well be the latter. The steady tick of a vintage clock draws your gaze. Its hands point in opposite directions. 3:42 p.m., 18 minutes left. Good thing you came early. You still have time to prepare before your interview, but probably not enough to do everything you want. You'll have to decide where to spend it. Carefully. Read through the pamphlets. She could answer her a few questions, strike up a conversation with the irritated man. There's a magazine on the table. Let's look at the pamphlets first. You snatch a brochure that seems to cover the most interesting topics, hoping it'll contain some hints about your future 9-to-5. Welcome to Smirnocore, your guide towards success in a post-truth future. I wish I could articulate the face I'm making right now. A post-truth future. Okay. All right. You're mildly disgusted by the amount of insipid buzzwords featured on each page. The whole thing reeks of hyperbole with a lesser whiff of self-congratulation. But at least it was somewhat informative. Plus, this company seems way more prestigious than you expected. The salaries must be pretty decent. You tuck the pamphlet back into the display and give the clock another glance. 3:51 p.m. You still have a few minutes left, maybe enough to extract information from one of the other people in the room. I feel like... I know Melusine said she could answer questions, but I feel like we're going to continue to just get buzzwords, right? So let's talk to the irritated man. Time to break the ice. Hopefully it won't be very thin ice you seem to be standing on with this guy. You take a seat next to the stranger, introducing yourself with a smile. Rather than ease the tension, the man scowls at you as if you were a clump of dog shit clinging to his shoe. His snarling voice sounds coarser than a poorly maintained gravel driveway. The hell do you want? Can't you tell I'm not in the mood? Well, if you couldn't tell before, you certainly can tell now. You gulp audibly, worried this person might assault you at a moment's notice, but as you stammer out some vague apologies, you notice something surprising. He doesn't look all that angry, let alone angry at you. In fact, he looks mostly fretful. The man's calloused hands aren't balled into fists, but kneading each other with relentless worry. Sweat beads at the temples of his receding hairline, wearing down the gel matting on his tar-black locks. One of his legs shudders visibly, its foot tapping the floor with the breakneck tempo of a meth-addled punk musician stomping a drum pedal. Okay, I've liked most of the descriptive writing here so far. That one's maybe a little silly. He reminds you of Melusine. He has the same not quite 30s face, some same darkened, baggy, tired eyes, same snug black turtleneck kept tidy as a military uniform. But his name tag reads Emiliano. Wait, name tag? Then it hits you. Then that Emiliano isn't a company client nor the prospective candidate up to the same job you are. He's a Smirnocore employee. Look, pal, all your staring's giving me a fit. Either speak up or back off, alright? Your aunt warned you how stressful the place was. Best leave it alone. Be compassionate, ask if anything's wrong. This is the chance to learn from someone with first-hand experience. Ask him what his job is like. I'm gonna ask what his job's like. Knowledge is power, and right now you're very weak. Best collect as much as you can, straight from the workplace's source. Gathering your courage, you kindly request for Emiliano to tell you a few stories about his time at Smirnocore. Confused by your question, the man arches an eyebrow. You're reminded of a bushy caterpillar wriggling up his forehead. Once you clarify what you're here for, the caterpillar slumps back, and Aguilar lets out a distasteful snicker. So you're the one they're hiring to take my spot, huh? Should have known Burgard would waste time finding himself a new lackey. The roof of your mouth goes dry as the dots connect. Your aunt did say Smirnocore was firing a problematic employee that needed replacing fast. You just didn't think she meant faster than they could kick their worker out the door. The problematic employee in question now glances the receptionist's way before leaning in to whisper a secret. His finger trembles uncontrollably as he points towards the building's entrance. I've only got one piece of advice when it comes to working here. Don't. If I were you, I'd pack my shit and get the hell out of Dodge before any of those freaks could hand me a paycheck. No amount of money is worth the crap they put you through, and no amount of therapy will be enough to help you sleep at night. Unless you want to ruin your life, go back the way you came and never look back. Oh, but be sure to piss on the freshest fucking doorstep on your way out, eh? Maybe that'll make a few nut jobs think twice before stepping inside. You smell liquor on his breath, hear a hint of derangement in his otherwise honest-sounding words. It's hard to tell if he's trustworthy, two-faced, or insane. Is this guy just bitter at being rightfully fired, or something else going on? I'm not going to tell him to change his attitude. Oh, that's bullshit. What did they make you do? Work-related stress is one thing, but this looks more like work-related trauma. Something must be going on here. Something much more complicated than the human resource desk that your aunt alluded to. Emiliano's mouth opens wordlessly, then snaps shut and scrunches up as if he just downed a shot glass of battery acid. His gaze darts about the room, searching for watchful eyes hidden within the waiting room. Only a few unblinking statues stare back, but the man trembles as though they can read his every thought. He seems afraid of what they might see. Sorry, I'm not allowed to share any specifics. Well, that's anticlimactic. With a perplexed disappointment, you egg him on to share something, asking if it's because of the company's strict privacy policies and why he should care about them so much if he's being laid off. Emiliano grumbles, clearly not appreciating your persistence, but nevertheless his face becomes knotted with intense concentration, looking for a way to phrase things that won't get him in trouble.
If you manage to make it through Burghar's interview, he'll put you through a mock evaluation. It may not make much sense at first, but it'll give you a taste of the work that really gets done around here. Still, you gotta treat every single question that asshole asks like it's a matter of life or death, because your answers will have consequences. Big ones for me.
The man leans in as close as he makes the request. Much too close for your liking. You can count the blackheads on his nose, feel the heat coming off his forehead. You're not entirely sure you're safe anymore. Ask why your interview should have repercussions for him. As the question crosses your lip, Emiliano grabs you by the collar, jerking you closer. Ropes of slobber paint your face as he begins to scream.
Didn't you fucking listen? I'm not allowed to tell you. I'm not allowed, so get the hell out of here.
You wish you could, but his grip is strong as stone, and only growing stronger. No matter how much you struggle, Emiliano isn't letting go. Whimpering, you cry out for someone to save you. Against all expectations, a booming voice actually answers. Mr. Aguilar, that's enough. Emiliano drops you instantly. His heels click as he turns to face whoever shouted, like a soldier awaiting inspection. In your peripheral vision, you see Melusine do the same, though her gesture is much faster and much more practiced. You, meanwhile, are on all fours, gasping for air and gagging on the smell of ammoniac cleaner. Never has the taste of chemicals ever been so sweet. You turn to thank your savior, only to choke on your breath once more. Standing in front of the elevator, without exaggeration, is the most massive man you've ever seen. He's taller than a fridge, twice as wide, and perhaps thrice as heavy. The pure white of his immaculate dentistry contrasts with his dark skin, which reflects the room's dim light like finely chiseled onyx. Beneath the perfectly tailored patterns of his elegant tweed suit, muscles shift with every breath, threatening to burst through the seams. His pale blue eyes focus on you as he speaks with a voice like velvet thunder. For a second, you thought the guy's tie was his body. Friend, you have my humblest apologies for my subordinate's inexcusable behavior. I'll be more than willing to discuss potential compensation if you deem it necessary, regardless of our interview's outcome. Interview, huh? This must be Mr. Burgard. Your soon-to-be boss, luck willing. The ding of an elevator is suddenly heard, and one of the grillage doors by the reception desk creaks open. The tweed behemoth sidles his way to the shaft, packed tighter than a tuna in a too-small can. He beckons you to join him with a bratwurst finger. Come along now, we're up. You know what? I don't know if the British suits him. It could be fine. Come along now. We're already behind schedule, and I can't afford any more delays. What's more, I frankly cannot wait to discuss your future with us here at Smirnocore. Holy shit, he thinks you have a future? In that moment, Mr. Burgard's big beaming smile is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Thank him, and slip into the elevator. It's a tight fit, but you manage to wriggle yourself into the lift by nuzzling up to your hopefully future boss. You apologize profusely for the cramped conditions, but he just laughs it off. No need to be embarrassed, happens all the time. Oh, and no need for all this Mr. Burgard business either. First name basis is fine by me. Before the elevator door can snap shut, someone opens their mouth and screams.
Oh, booyah! Wait!
The angry-looking man you were worrying about suddenly drops to his knees, held together in prayer. Any aura of danger that once clung to him has been dispelled by his blubbering supplication.
Sir, I'm begging you, give me one other chance. I swear I'll do anything. Unpaid overtime. I'll work weekends. I'll kiss your goddamn shoes if I have to. Just please don't replace me.
Mr. Burgard's only reply is a disappointed sigh. His bright white smile wavers, and tangible contempt taints his otherwise welcoming tone. Mr. Aguilar, you've had more second chances than I can count, and displaying such undignified desperation in front of a candidate set to take over your position is not an endearing choice. Frankly, there's nothing more I can or want to do for you, beyond offering the standard company-issued severance package. The once intimidating stranger collapses as though shot in the chest. His body ripples with hiccuping wails, his fists powerlessly pounding at the carpeted floor. Your maybe future boss clicks his tongue, more disappointed than disturbed. He turns to give Melisede a firm look and firmer orders. Miss Sansain, please ensure our foremost staffer behaves until his offboarding is complete, will you? I'll attend to him once I'm done with our guest. The tired woman gives a nervous nod, rushing to her typewriter as if nothing happened. The clacking keys are now punctuated by the tears of a grown man. Obuya thumbs a few buttons, and the elevator doors finally slide shut. Through cracks in the grillage gates, you can see the receptionist giving you a small wave, mouthing a worrisome farewell. Good luck! Before you can decide whether she was cheering you on or trying to warn you, the floor lurches downwards. The interview. After descending a short way, the elevator slows to a crawl, then comes to a complete stop, groaning under the combined mass of its unevenly weighted passengers. For a moment, you worry the cables have jammed. Clearing his throat, Mr. Burgard reaches over your shoulder and points to the lift's control panel. Would you do me the honor of entering our meeting room's access password? If you're going to be working here, you may as well learn how to travel across the office. Just type in this, if you please. Oh, and no need to be too brusque about it. Precision matters more than speed with these old doodads. I'm scared that it's gonna, like, take this away from me and I'm gonna have to have it memorized. I'm gonna take a picture. Just in case. Okay. That way, if it leaves my brain too quickly. Okay. Oh yeah, we got the tunes going. The interviewer chuckles as he watches you fiddle with the electric symbols, amused by your apparent unfamiliarity. No doubt he's used to employees entering these combinations with the routine deafness of jaded shoppers, typing in their PIN numbers during credit card transactions. You're still not sure why he's making you type the password in, nor why the elevator uses passwords in the first place. Wouldn't keycards be easier, or normal numbers at least? Regardless, as the last button clicks into place, the elevator resumes its descent at an increased momentum, plunging deep into the earth with no sign of stopping. After almost 20 seconds, you wonder if it's headed for the planet's core. You'll have to beg my pardon for the sluggishness. I've petitioned to have this thing replaced, but the encryptology department refuses to let us invest in newer models. Potential security risks, or so they claim. Boogeyman hogwash, I say. An upgrade has been long overdue. Maybe once our deal with Radium finally goes through, they'll be a bit more welcoming of true progress, eh? You nod along politely, pretending to understand what he means. You're unsure the display looks convincing. Still, by the sounds of it, you'll be stuck here for a while. How do you kill time? Give those elevator buttons a closer look. I'm not gonna ask about Emiliano. Squinting at the control panel, you try making sense of the assorted icons decorating each key, trying to intuit the twisted logic linking them together. There must be some rationale informing the design of these peculiar passcodes. Unfortunately, the longer you look, the less you understand what the pi symbol and the Greek omega have to do with any of those scribbles you've never seen before. The bout of mental gymnastics required to even attempt drawing a clear pattern leaves you with a nagging headache. At least you can remember the password Obuya gave you. But in the end, you're so focused on decoding the secret behind Smirnocor's buttons that you're startled by Burgard. I hope you're as excited for this interview as I am, friend. At the risk of sounding biased, I have very high expectations for you. The woman who recommended you for this position, your aunt, I believe? She had nothing but great things to say. She assured me you're an extremely positive person with a permanent can-do attitude and exceptional emotional resilience. And that's exactly the kind of person we need more of here at Smirnocore. You answer the giant's compliment with an awkward chuckle. Internally, however, you are screaming. You knew your aunt was bound to lie in order to guarantee you an interview, but she could have picked something more fitting for a clinically depressed shut-in who can't afford their own prescription. That's too real. I want to, slam my fist on the desk. As you force yourself to smile through an impending panic attack, the elevator comes to a grinding halt, its grillage door sliding open.
squeeze your way out of there.
It's a bit of a battle to wriggle past Obuya, but as soon as you find yourself free of the claustrophobic lift and breathing a bit easier, Mr. Burgard follows suit. Mr. Burgard follows suit, flipping a light switch to illuminate the otherwise pitch-black room. Welcome to my humble office. Ah, so that's what this place is. An office wouldn't have been your first guess. Blah, blah. The slams fist for you, thank you. The rectangular space before you is reminiscent of an oversized police interrogation room. The walls are painted glossy black, glistening in the sepia glow of a low-hanging ceiling lamp. And if it weren't for the obvious two-way mirror in the back, the room would appear infinite in size, a boundless expanse of inky shadow extending in every direction. A single desk sits at the room's center, made from a block of carved mahogany. Coffee-stained paperwork covers its surface like some madman's wallpaper, and countless colored wires sprawl across the floor as though the varnished wood had somehow sprung electrical roots. Leather chairs fit to dwarf royal thrones loom over both ends of the table, no doubt custom-built to accommodate Mr. Burgard's colossal frame. The behemoth briskly motions for you to take a seat, but you sink so far into the plush leather it feels more like the seat takes you. Prying yourself out of those comfortable depths, your eyes turn to the sparse assortment of unusual baubles decorating the table's corners. On this side, there's an antique candlestick phone whose mouthpiece is made to look like a large roosting bat. On that side, there's an old-fashioned record player adorned with a gaudily gilded Smirnocore logo. Right in front of you, there's a nameplate engraved with the words Obuya Burgard, Senior Substitution Department Supervisor. And scattered all over the place, there are piles of VHS cassettes, each one labeled with tags written in Latin, Farsi, or Ancient Greek. The item which perplexes you most, however, is an old vinyl record, snugly wrapped in yellow keep out tape. Mr. Burgard notes your interest with an amused arch of his brow. You wouldn't happen to be a fan of jazz, would you? Actually, I do kind of like jazz. Obuya's smile can grow no bigger, but it certainly shines brighter upon hearing your enthusiastic answer. Well then, I'm quite excited to find out what a fellow connoisseur will think of this particular gem. Carefully placing the confidential vinyl onto an old record player, Mr. Burgard lowers the needle and bids you to listen. A strange, somber soundscape slowly fills the office with a blues-inspired rhythm you can't quite compare to anything you've heard before. It's not appalling per se, but perhaps a little messy and eerie enough to make you uncomfortable. The duet voices of a man and woman muttering warbled lyrics only adds to the strangeness. You can't make out a word they're saying, except for the chorus verse. Let's call the whole thing off. I know this song. Yeah. Gina and Herschel Gershwin. Gina and Herschel Gershwin, twins if you're wondering, not a couple despite all the turbulent rumors that once surrounded their odd relationship. I've never met them myself, but I do know they could have been bigger than the Beatles back in the band's heyday. The biggest case of my career was making sure they wouldn't be, and I always found it tragic that only one of their records was left intact in the world, though I also feel quite lucky to be the man who owns it. Few will ever have the privilege of hearing such avant-garde work. You utter a few admirative oohs and ahs, feigning interest to conceal your perplexity. What does a human resource company have to do with ruining musicians' careers, and how could Obuya be employed, let alone alive, during the birth years of rock and roll? He's not that old, is he? Before you can scrutinize the man's non-existent wrinkles, he promptly clears the stray documents from his desk, making space for a repulsively familiar sheet of paper. Your loathsome fucking resume, laid bare for the world to gawk at. God, you're sick of seeing that thing. Obuya interlaces his fingers, pale eyes darkening into a severe stare. You suddenly find yourself keenly aware of just how dangerous the man could be should he choose to embrace violence over verbal repartee. Time to begin our little interview. I'll be asking you a series of questions. Some may appear rather peculiar, others rather innocuous. They may be difficult to answer at times as you have not been made fully aware of your position, nor of Smirnokor's company goals. However, I still request that you provide honest and instinctive responses. Regardless of context, they'll give us a better idea of the role you'll be assigned during your time among us. Wait, you have to ace an interview before being told about the job you're applying for? What a mess. Either Smirnocore has an unintuitive hiring process or their non-disclosure agreements are so incestuously interwoven and no one can get any work done without being strangled to death by red tape. Still, Abuya's words make one thing clear. The only way you'll get hired and earn a salary to pay the rent you owe is by acing this goddamn interview, no matter what it takes. Give a firm nod, and assure him you'll be earnest. Yeah. Abuya chortles with satisfaction. The sound is deep and rumbling as the rock slide at the bottom of a well. Wonderful, let's get started. Question 1. A runaway locomotive is barreling down on a set of railroad tracks at uncontrollable speeds. In its path lay 5 people tied down and unable to move. If nothing is done, the locomotive will certainly crush them and end their lives in an instant. You stand in a train yard next to a large lever. You know that if you pull it, the locomotive will divert its course onto a separate track. However, this will cause it to crush a different person who is also tied down to this alternate path. How do you ensure all 6 people escape this tragedy alive? Well, that's not quite where do you see yourself in 5 years, Dick, you're used to? How the hell are you supposed to respond? Assuming you know how to operate the lever, you might also know how to remotely trigger the brakes. You run fast and have deft hands. Untie everyone before the train arrives. Dodge the question by discussing other ethical conundrums and how they expose moral biases. That one's really tempting. That one's really tempting, but I want to see what happens if I say, I can trigger the brakes. You're not exactly the foremost authority on train yard technological advances, but you're pretty sure conductors have developed multiple automated and manual failsafes, specifically to prevent cartoonish catastrophes. Whew, you can tell I've been talking for a while. Like these. If not, you have $1 million idea to pitch. That's an impressively refreshing answer, although, to be candid, many representatives in other departments would strongly disagree with your technology-based solution. The Tweed behemoth gestures to the yellowing documents strewn about his desk and the baubles at its corners. All of them appear ancient enough to have been stolen from an unsuspecting museum's oldest shelves. Spirnacor was built upon a simple ideal, that humankind's potential must not become entrapped by progress's false promises of privacy. Efficiency is no excuse to discard anonymous practicality. Our old hat philosophies and reliance on archaic devices have kept this company on the path to success for decades. But the world is changing, and we cannot remain blind to the additional insights technology can provide. After all, how can we think outside the box if we lack the tools to grasp how big the box has become, especially in our ever-so-chaotic digital era? You're not quite sure how to respond to that, let alone how it applies to human resources, but you still manage to stammer out some words of agreement, which hopefully imply you're thinking the same thing. Tech literacy +2. Very nice. Now, moving right along to question 2. Could you kindly rephrase your greatest flaw so that it sounds like your greatest strength? Be advised, I do not want to hear that cowardly, I'm too much of a perfectionist, or I'm a huge workaholic claptrap most folk use to make themselves sound flawless. I want a proper, blameworthy weakness, reconfigured into a proper, praiseworthy strength. Understood. Smear campaign company? The behemoth leans forward, and the room's darkness looms with him. Both close in around you like the walls of a solitary confinement cell, or the rope of an eager hangman's noose. Better think of something good. Browse social media during work hours, but it keeps you updated on current events and tech trends. You spend too much time chatting with coworkers, but it helps you understand them and cooperate effectively. You often try solving problems with brawn, not brains, but you're in great shape, so it works out. Hi, Dee. And back and immediately hate what's going on in this game. It's too real. This is such a lie, but I spend too much time chatting with coworkers. Wars waged with unmastered weapons are doomed to fail. Sun Tzu said that, you think? Or maybe it was a World War I general, or the hero from that kung fu movie you watched as a teen. Point is, swapping gossip doesn't just provide drama, it reveals what your teammates are truly capable of. That, I must confess, is an exceptional response. To work at Smirnocore is to plunge through the very fabric of human psychology and unravel every thread of it on a daily basis. Understanding who people are, their wants, needs, aspirations, is integral to helping them to become the people that they should be, and no one can achieve such understanding by working alone. Therefore, extending that same level of consideration to one's colleagues is an extremely wise initiative to augment our efficiency. Impressive stuff for a new recruit. His smile unnerves you. It should. The man gestures with theatrical flourishes as he makes the declaration, but his conviction sounds too genuine to come off as arrogant. You conceal a satisfied grin, picturing how spectacular the man's water cooler small talk must be. Social aptitude +2. No, there's something. No, there's something I never thought I'd see. This game. Now then, onward to our final inquiry regarding your schooling. I would like for you to, well, if you could just explain the, goodness, how do I phrase this delicately? The behemoth's words trail into muttered mumbles, his velvet thunder voice degrading into something more akin to a bumblebee stuck in a big dog's mouth. His blue eyes dart between you and the paper's underwhelming bullet points with increasingly disgusted concern, as though finally noticing what kind of unemployable aberration has stepped into this building. It is an unfortunately common reaction for anyone who reads your CV. The singers on the record player shout and a loud suggestion to just call the whole thing off. Their advice, for better or worse, goes unheeded. Well, at the risk of sounding insensitive, I truly appreciate some insight regarding your academic background. How do you believe a workplace of our nature could benefit from hiring someone with such dubiously incompatible education? You begin sweating bullets. Big bullets, the kind of caliber robot cops must use in action movies from the 80s. Of course, it was going to come down to this. No matter how dearly you wish it were possible, you can't magically go back in time and study something more prestigious for today's job market. But you might be able to describe your weird diploma in a way that makes it a strikingly employable impression. You studied computer science, you're skilled with technologies old and new. You studied ultimate frisbee, the apex of education for any teamwork-loving athletic super style. You studied child psychology. You're good at reading people and creating emotional rapport. Is this game gonna make you write a cover letter too? Ooh, I'm trying to decide between computer science and psychology. Look at trigger warning cave too. What do you guys think? I feel like either of those could work. I don't know about ultimate frisbee. Because it would be good to be like, hey man, I totally get the old school. I understand the old school as well as the new school. But also being able to read people is important. Feeling child psychology, but maybe it's just the brain damage. Let's try child psychology. You're unsure of what kind of services Smirnocore really offers, but there's no doubt social sciences could come in handy with human resources. By honing your communication skills and providing extra insight into people's personality quirks, your schooling should provide useful in dealing with clients and coworkers. You discuss some of the intricacies of your most memorable seminars, specifically those concerning mental development and lingering infant trauma known to emerge decades later, examples of how early experiences inform otherwise incoherent attitudes amongst grown adults. Mr. Burgard's concerns mellows into curiosity with every passing explanation. Then, as your story concludes, he regards you with outright admiration. I cannot even begin to explain how often our Smyrna Corps representatives fail to consider the significance of formative experiences when it comes to mapping out an individual's psyche. Childhood memories are oft overlooked, yet integral in determining the cause of a client's wants, fears, or failings, and in our most extreme cases, identifying those root causes is utterly essential to succeed. The fact you have such a thoughtful and informed perspective before starting your first day, no less, is truly, truly incredible. Correcting human behavior is a complicated, multi-layered process, but your pre-existing awareness of that fact will be a major asset. This is a trap. Run away. We already got screamed at by the guy we're replacing that we should leave. His flattery sends warm butterflies fluttering about your stomach. It's been a while since you last received such a compliment, let alone felt actual pride in yourself, as opposed to the usual undercurrent of exhausted shame. Ironically, a therapist would probably have questions for you about that. Oh, more social aptitude. Wow, look at that. Anywho, I believe that concludes our questionnaire for today. As for your results... The man's enormous fingers crumple your CV into a ball and toss it aside. It bounces across the wire-laden floor, disappearing into an inky corner of the abyssal room. Your chest tightens, panic swells, catastrophic scenarios and thoughts of crushing failure explode throughout your head. Abuya's beaming smile diffuses them all. To tell you the truth, this little meeting of ours was nothing more than a corporate-mandated formality. Between your aunt's glowing recommendation and the fact you showed up to our offices on such short notice, I knew from the very start that I'd be wanting you on board. After this discussion, I'm pleased to announce that my hunch has been confirmed, and I am most pleased to be extending you a permanent employment offer. He's clearly mocking you. Pinch yourself. Hang on, you actually want to hire me? I'm not going to say that out loud. The pinch hurts, but nothing more. Mr. Burgard clears his throat, and the baritone of his next words is like a serenade from reality, finally acknowledging you as an honored guest. No need to look so bewildered. It can't be the first time someone's been impressed by your skills. It's like, it's every person who's like, wait, what do you mean nobody wants to hire you? They don't want to hire me. But you can do XYZ. Yeah, I know. Our exchange has revealed that you're an individual of exceptional interpersonal acuity, a sharp mind with an even sharper intuition, honed by keen intelligence and earnest empathy. I wouldn't be surprised to learn you're skilled at talking yourself out of trouble, or persuading folks to see things your way, regardless of where the truth may lie. Of course, you'll sometimes face scenarios where social deduction and charisma will prove insufficient, but I see a bright future for you at Smyrna Corps, managing our most prestigious and precarious operations. So, would you deem my interpretation of your aptitudes accurate, or have I misconstrued the content of your character? I don't think that paints an accurate portrait of my skills. You're 100% on point. That's exactly the kind of person I am. Flattered by Abuya's appraisal, you relish in the satisfaction of having been truly seen. It's not every day you get such precise, quantifiable breakdown of your unique abilities. May they serve you well in tackling the horrors to come. Good to know. Very good indeed. In that case, I'll nudge administration to start producing your contract. I'll unfortunately have to remain cagey about some details such as workplace tasks or starting salary until all the legal hoopla has been sorted. But assuming you care to accept a generous starting offer... Mr. Burgard's chuckling deepens as he extends a massive hand. His blue eyes are bright with joy, his tongue hungrily running over his pure white teeth. Please allow me to informally welcome you as the newest member of Smyrna Corps. I look forward to reviewing your performance. So much no. Holy shit, it's actually happening. You're gonna have a job. You're gonna have money. Enough of it to pay rent, keep a roof over your head, eat food, anything. Fight the urge to cry and shake Mr. Burrard's hands. I will fight the urge to cry. I'm not gonna cry in front of this guy. You cannot help but sniffle as you extend your hand, eyesight blurred by tears of sheer relief. Yet, Even through that weeping haze, you can still see the behemoth's grin, spreading like a bird's unfurling wings. More specifically, those of a rapacious buzzard, diving in to snatch a rodent with razor-sharp talons. Nobody's buying it in this chat. Instincts urge you to pull away, but the behemoth's pounce comes too quickly. Before you can possibly react, your entire hand is engulfed with a fist the size of a ripe cantaloupe. Almost instantly, something begins feeling terribly, terribly wrong. Despite Mr. Burgard's pure white smile, it feels as though your new boss is trying to leave you crippled from the wrist down. Knuckles crunch, folding in on each other. Metacarpals squeak and whine. Articular cartilage between them both crumble into collagen sand, but all that pain is nothing next to the sharp, stabbing agony suddenly shooting through your palm. Ow, ow. You cry out in pain, but beg Burgard to let go. Fight to pry your fingers free, but the giant's grip is iron and deaf to your complaints. If anything, he squeezes harder. The needlepoint pain inside your hand sinks in even deeper. Deep enough for you to think it might pierce the whole way through. Deep enough for you to wonder if it could somehow kill you. Your jaw unhinges to let out a scream. Ooh. Sorry. I double-clicked. If anything squeezes harder. The needlepoint pain inside your hand sinks deeper. Deep enough for you to think it might pierce the whole way through. You let out a scream before a single sound comes through. Mr. Burgard lets you go free with an innocent-sounding, "Oops. Dearie me, I was a tad too firm there, wasn't I? Beg pardon, friend. I tend to forget my own strength sometimes."
Thank you for doing, Furl.
Devil seal. The tweed behemoth lets out an earnestly apologetic chuckle. You force yourself to chuckle back, but the laughter takes tremendous effort. It's hard to buy his excuse, no matter how believable it may be. Panic, you palpate your palm and numbed fingers, searching for any scars left by the thing that was drilling through your flesh. But there's no wound, no torn skin, no deep cuts, not even mild bruising. You don't even feel the pain anymore. All you find is a single bead of bright red blood, oh my gosh, blood no bigger than a pinhead. You wipe it away, frantically seeking what lurks beneath. It's warm to the touch and leaves a scarlet smear across your palm like a painter's brush. Yet there's no sign of where the pain has come from. No wound, no scar. There could be some swelling, but it's faint enough to make you suspect the bulge isn't really there. Maybe it was all in your head. If there's no wound, is it someone else's blood? Investigate that swelling, no matter how paranoid it may be. I guess it's someone else's blood. You risk a furtive glance at the behemoth's hand, hoping to find a clue on his skin. Before you're sure you've spotted something, a clatter interrupts you. From one of his desk drawers, Mr. Burgard withdraws a slab of metal the size of a stovetop. At first, you assume it's a tablet device, custom built to fit the tweed giant's fingers and resist their vice-like strength. Or perhaps a turntable meant for an aspiring DJ, painted in drab colors. A closer look reveals something older and clunkier, made of gray aluminum and solid beige plastics. Blinking buttons, flickable switches, knobs, and sliders of all kinds decorate its crowded surface with a cluttered interface, too complex to grasp at a glance. Despite your fondness for outdated tech, you cannot tell what kind of machine this is, nor what purpose it's meant to serve. Your best guess, it's an old movie prop, stolen from a studio set of a sci-fi film from the 1950s, and not necessarily a good sci-fi film. Mr. Burgard bends over to grab heaping handfuls of wires off the messy floor. Seemingly at random, he sorts through dozens of them at a time, plugging only a paltry few into his device's outlets. Now that the pleasantries are finally done with, I suggest we proceed to the evaluation portion of our exchange. Aha, you were wondering when you'd get to that part. The behemoth appears taken aback by your expectant nod, but is even more surprised by the nervousness your lousy poker face can't conceal. Though you were told to expect a test, you were also warned to be wary, and you're not particularly excited to find out what that machine has to do with it. Come now, no need to get so agitated. I've already agreed to hire you. It's not like I'll be terminating your employment before your first probationary milestone. The format of this evaluation will be similar to our open-ended interview questionnaire, but This time, I'll be presenting intentionally confusing scenarios that most Smirnocore employees might encounter during their day-to-day tasks. Your goal is to present solutions to each particular problem as you deem appropriate, regardless of how unconventional the suggestion may seem. Yet again, there are no wrong answers, but I will tell your responses to determine how much supervision you'll require during onboarding.
Ah, itchy sippies. Thank you.
In other words, I once more encourage honesty over making a good impression, for both our sakes. The behemoth flicks a larger switch upon his instrument's dashboard. A low, droning, palpable hum fills the shadowy room. The light bulb hanging above you flickers, then goes dark, bathing the already dim room in nigh absolute blackness. Only the device's glowing buttons, reflected in the two-way mirror, provide you with any light. Shall we get started? Let's call the whole thing off, the record player begs you over and over again. It seems to be stuck in place, and skipping a few beats. Unfortunately, your body's also stuck in place, petrified in your plush chair, and your heart is skipping a few beats more. You give your sore hand a tight squeeze and hope the throbbing will stop soon. Ask him for more information, no matter how limited. Mr. Burgard denies the request with a firm shake of his head. Ignorance is key, he explains. The more prepared you are, the more accurate the results, and I am a man who greatly values precision. Your new boss's bratwurst thick fingers push one of the machine's sliders to its absolute limit. The room's brassy hum increases in pitch and frequency. I'll start you off with an easy one. Let's say, hypothetically, that you're supervising a group of employees from a different company. They hired you to isolate the source of their decreased productivity, then remedy the issue. And it does not take you long for you to identify the problem. One of the staff members is extremely troublesome. The giant pauses, uttering a tisk of irritation. It seems he wasn't supposed to specify this mystery employee's gender. When he speaks again, he enunciates slowly with more careful consideration. This hypothetical individual has an undeniably inadequate productivity level. They never meet bare minimum expectations, they lack punctuality, disrespect their colleagues, browse unsavory websites with company property instead of dedicating their limited work hours to completing overdue, urgent paperwork. Their misconduct is continuous and condemnable. The employee has been given multiple warnings and provided with opportunities to improve their performance. Both have either failed or been ignored. The client is contemplating firing the problematic worker, but are concerned that becoming understaffed during a especially critical moment of the fiscal quarter could jeopardize their important deadlines. What do you think should be done to re-establish the client's baseline productivity? Oh, okay, we get extra ones because of our stuff. Okay. Took so long to find a job, firing someone, make you sick, give them one more chance. This person should be laid off. Install software on their computer that limits access to non-work websites. Talk with this person to understand the root of their poor behavior. Well, so Emiliano, right, is the one that's we're replacing them. I would talk to them and get to the root of their behavior. Citing psychiatric principles you learned during internships, you explain the employee may be enacting forms of self-regulation to cope with stress. Severe triggering employment-based anxieties could be the reason for lashing out. Creating a safer, more communicative workplace would prevent future incidents. As your nervous explanation begins delving into the more technical aspects of addressing trauma, you start losing track of your own argument. However, Mr. Picard remains very satisfied by your convoluted suggestion. I knew your studies in formative psychology would prove useful. Even our most experienced technicians could benefit from your level of consideration. If one intends to map out the architecture of a complex adult mind, one must first start at the foundation set in childhood. Failing to do so only grants an incomplete picture of the person we're trying to change, and leads to flawed interpretations of the necessary corrections. The fact you already take into account potential childhood trauma tells me you understand this well. Thus, I predict minimal corrective oversight will be necessary when performing your first surgical override or psychological reconditioning. Jolly good stuff. Yes, no, we are becoming HR. That is the job. We are applying for an HR job at this place. The giant hums joyfully, fingers tap dancing across the buttons of his device with a series of distinctive clicks. Hang on, though, did he just say he'd be performing surgery?
Oh no.
Abuya completes his complex mechanical operation with a flourish of flashing lights and a sequence of high-pitched beeping. The machine's noises are loud, but not startling. Not compared to the other sound. It's faint at first, muffled, maybe distant, subtle enough to make you wonder if it's part of the record player's tune. But the longer you listen, the more unmistakable it becomes. Someone, somewhere, is screaming. Your nails dig into the armrest of your overlarge leather seat. Your eyes dart about the room, searching for the noise's source before landing on the two-way mirror and your own aghast reflection. It's coming from across the glass. You hold your breath and wait for the scream to rise up again, but there's only the record player's music. Music and the white noise buzz of Burgard's machine as he hems you back to attention. If you're in need of a restroom, I can point you in the right direction. Otherwise, I'd ask you to please complete this evaluation with a smidge less fidgeting. It negatively impacts our tool's acoustics, you see. It's like you didn't even hear it. Was the scream inside your head just like the pain from your hand before? Or maybe... We'll just pretend nothing happened. I don't think we should point it out. You hold your tongue, unwilling to disrupt the tool's acoustics any further. Besides, strange things have been happening ever since you set foot in this building, and everyone's been acting like it's completely normal. There's probably nothing wrong, right? No, there's something definitely wrong. Abuya flips another switch. The room's buzzing shifts into a frequency so oddly low you feel it sending ripples through your organs. The giant gestures your way with stippled fingers, further disturbing your unsettled guts. Now let's say, still hypothetically speaking, that our problem employee has a more specific shortcoming. He is utterly unwilling to cooperate with one of his co-workers. Perhaps it's a matter of long-standing interpersonal friction originating from external sources. Or maybe there's an irreconcilable difference between them in terms of moral, political, or religious beliefs. Regardless of the exact circumstances, our floundering staffer has proven themselves incapable of playing nice with their high-performing teammate. This has resulted in a severe decline in both their productivity levels. Knowing we cannot relocate the problem employee to a new department nor displace their high-performing partner, how do we ensure the former collaborates with the latter despite the deeply rooted discord between them? Oh my god, there's one for the ultimate frisbee! Team building exercises. Principles are learned, not biologically dictated. Teach them new values better suited to a workplace. Sure, we'll take the social aptitude one. Your mind drifts to extreme rehabilitation scenarios. Neo-Nazis mellowed out through exposure to inclusive media. Violent teens overcoming aggression through extensive therapy. They're not quick or cheap solutions, but they do prove people can overwrite old behaviors with new, compassionate values. Your new boss's bright white smile twinkles with tremendous satisfaction. He tweaks his device's knobs with giddy abandon. You're absolutely right. Too often do we believe people act in certain ways by default, as though personality or upbringing were immutable entities. But psychologically speaking, not only can anyone become anything, they can be made to become anything through tactical exposure to new perspectives. Individuals are the sum of the environments and ideas they have been exposed to. Thus, adding or subtracting experiences from that human equation alters the result. Unfortunately, there are times when the only solution is to erase every belief that a person holds dear and start over from nothing. But that's just part of the job description. We wouldn't be offering such competitive salaries if designing boutique psychological profiles were easy. Oh, Janet, we are the baddies. Before you can ask the interviewer what the hell he means, another sound reaches your ears. It's not a person's scream this time, and neither is it a vinyl's tune, nor a machine's hum. Rather, it resembles a dull, wet, rhythmic thud. Once, twice, thrice you hear it, a little louder, every time. Your eyes dart about the room, looking for the noise's source. You find it staring back at you from across the two-way mirror. You see the handprint of a blood-stained palm slapping against the looking glass, begging to be let out. Your mouth goes dry as it hangs open. Your finger shakes as you start to point. Then, without a word of warning, the thudding suddenly stops. All that remains is silence and a message written in scarlet. Cry for help. No one can answer. Abuya looks over his shoulder, seeing the red stain. You wait for him to react, to gasp, or even scream. All he does is harumph at it, annoyed. I really need to put more pressure on that janitor. The soundproofing in here has been unacceptable as late. With more grouchy grumbling, he tweaks a couple of his device's knobs as if nothing happened. Then, noticing your aghast expression, he furrows his brow. Not with concern, but confusion. Is something the matter? I'm gonna shake my head. I don't want to let on. You wipe the sweat from your brow and try to control your breathing. You tell Mr. Burgard it must have been the air down there making you lightheaded. It feels as though you keep seeing things. None of this can be real. It can't be. The VOD's gonna be utterly fucked with the amount of noobs. I love it. Wonderful. I'm thrilled you'd be willing to be so cooperative despite these distractions. Now, regarding the conclusion of our conjectural conundrum, let's say, and I cannot stress this enough, that our aforementioned staffer is hypothetically assigned to contain a major data breach, one with consequences that could spell disaster for their company and co-workers alike. The sensitive nature of this task requires them to exterminate or indefinitely debilitate any individuals who have witnessed this leaked information. Sorry. I've been talking so much. So that they become incapable of further dissemination. In this case, the information has only been accessed by 2 people, the employee's spouse and their prepubescent offspring. Needless to say, our employee is reluctant to perform their duty and exterminate these individuals. However, if either family member remains alive, the company stands to lose everything. Furthermore, should they refuse to tie up these proverbial loose ends, you will be required to do so in their place, as outlined in your Smirnogal contract. In short, how do you ensure these targets perish as intended, and that this data breach remains contained, regardless of this problematic employee's hesitation? Oh, Jesus Christ. We don't have physical faculty or computer science specialization, unfortunately. We don't have either of these. Beg the employee to go through with it. Killing those 2 people could save hundreds. No one should kill their family to bury company secrets. There has to be a better way. I mean, he's not gonna like either of these, so I'm just gonna go with it. You stammer your undignified answer. Mr. Burgard's expression goes from jolly to deadpan faster than you can blink. He fiddles with his instrument settings with a disappointed frown, indifferent to your pleading. Normally, I'd applaud any employee willing to consider better ways of doing things around here, but I sense you're less interested in optimizing your duties and more concerned with avoiding them. Frankly, if this is how you react to a hypothetical version of the scenario, I loathe to imagine your reaction when actually confronting the situation in the workplace. You'll need to learn how to perform under pressure around here, and fast. Drumming upon a few more buttons and eliciting a few more beeping noises, your manager's expression shifts somewhat as his strange machine's monitor displays your evaluation's final score. Well, this is genuinely impressive. I had high hopes for you, but this exceeds even those anticipations by considerable leaps and bounds. Most of our employees need months, if not years, of training to properly optimize our procedures while foregoing all ethical concerns. For you to demonstrate such dedication to efficiency without need for orienteering, that tells me you're destined to accomplish great, terrible things at this company. Why, I barely had to make adjustments to your doppelganger engineering suggestions. Doppelganger? Unfazed by your panic or bafflement, Mr. Burgard reaches for a nearby candlestick phone. The mouthpiece's realistically macabre roosting bat design makes it seem like he's clutching a live pipistrelle and shoving it against the cavern that is his giant mouth. We're done here. You can show them now. Hey, Gayla. On the other end of the line, a reply is chirped. Abuya hands you the phone and motions you to listen in. His pure white smile looks wide enough to tear his cheeks at the seams. Accept the phone. You gingerly seize the occult antique. It takes you a few tries to figure out how the winged mammal is meant to be held, and even longer to hold the earpiece to your head. But by the time you figured it out, you wish you hadn't. The two-way glass at the back suddenly turns transparent, revealing yet another room filled with aesthetic contradictions and logical anomalies. Your first urge is to scream, but your voice makes no sound. Perhaps your cries are deafened by whatever the fuck is going on. You stand before what appears to be a hospital operating room. Its walls are adorned with a mix of dark wood panels and mounted stag heads, bathed in the sterile glow of circular fluorescent lamps. At the far back, you can see silhouettes of two surgeons toiling away behind a curtain, carving apart the skulls of their fully conscious, unsedated patients. You want to look away, but you can't even blink. There's just too much to take in. There's the patients themselves. They look almost like twins. Both have been tied down with belts to their respective surgical tables. Both men are men with tan skin, furrowed brows, and bloodshot stares. Both have the tops of their heads partially concealed by curtains where the surgeons' silhouettes prod their scalps with forceps. Only one of them is screaming, as though death would be a mercy. There's the surgeon's tools. Blood-stained aprons hang from wooden coat racks, while stainless steel surgical trays contain an assortment of gruesome devices. Bone saws, hand-crank drills, and strangely hairy bone-white bowls glistening with dark red. Your stomach gurgles upon realizing they are the sliced-off tops of human skulls. There's the televisions hanging from the ceiling. Boxy Technicolor units have been suspended above each patient's head. Their crackling screens blast them with unrelenting montage of childhood videotape footage, warbled ECG readouts, brain scans, and the news network broadcasts. Each man's eyelids are held open by metallic speculums, denying them the privilege of looking away. And then there's the woman taking notes. She stands with her back to you, jotting down observations on the clipboard as she studies each victim's distinct reactions. Though her shoulders are shaking, she writes with a steady hand. The muffled sounds of saws slicing through bone threaten to make you throw up, but instead, you feel your heart sink deep into that pit of nausea and realize something truly chilling. You recognize two of the people in that room. Let's look more closely at the clipboard-wielding lady. Sensing your stare through the glass, the woman turns around. Details leap out, one at a time, making the pit in your stomach sink deeper. A black turtleneck, a hair bun, a tight smile spread too wide, exhausted eyes bulging and bloodshot, pupils shrunk to tiny pinpricks. Melusine. After Emiliano attacked you, you believed that man was insane, but now watching that receptionist smile without blinking, tears brimming in her eyes and bloodstains wetting her clothes, Aguilar's mental breakdown makes more sense to you than ever. As if to prove a point, the loudest of the two patients screams at you for help. You please, tell them I'll change. Tell them I'll do better. Just don't let them replace me. Melusine, I'm begging you can't do this to me. I have a femme. His words are cut off by gurgling spasms, eyes rolling back into their sockets as the surgeon's silhouette behind him cuts something inside his head. Brain and blood matter splatters the curtain, hiding the worst of the scene, but sounds of squelching meat and bone still carry over the receiver. Yet, it's the other calmer patient's voice that truly makes you nauseous. He doesn't just look like Emiliano. He sounds like him. Exactly like him. You tell them I'll change. Tell them I'll do better. Just don't let them replace me. The lookalike's face remains impassive even as his exposed brain is prodded at with a hand crank drill. Yet the imitation of his neighbor's blood-curdling cries is perfect. Every nuance, every pause for breath, reenacted down to the finest detail, better than any audio recording you could ever imagine, more immaculate a simulacra than any man or machine could ever be capable of. It's so perfect, in fact, that you're no longer certain which is the real Emiliano. Hey, Melusine, how was that? Am I laying the accent on too thick? Seems fine to me, but I'd recommend letting your voice crack once in a while. It's been known to happen when Mr. Aguilar is heavily inebriated, and considering his drinking disposition, that particular nuance will come up quite frequently. Gotcha, I'll give it another go. Hey pal, can you give me some fresh material to rehearse? You're all a bunch of fucking psychos, motherfucking heartless psychos. Emiliano sobs and howls himself raw, retching as the surgeon hacking his cerebellum induces full body spasms. The other Emiliano clears his throat before howling much the same. You're all a bunch of psychos, motherfucking heartless psychos. How about that? Bit better. Considerably. I'll, notify the post-op technicians to implant a few more speech impediment-inducing memories and apply brain damage relative to Mr. Aguilar's alcoholism. That should iron out the last neurophysical kinks. The other Emiliano gives a firm thumbs up, leaning back to enjoy his lobotomy with the lackadaisy indulgence of an expert barber's scalp massage. Meliacine turns to face the glass, her wide smile pulled painfully taut. She looks at you with tears and mascara streaking down her face, her grin seeming to cause more pain than either patient's cerebral surgery. Was there anything else you needed to see, Mr. Burgard? No, thank you, dear. That'll be all. Just wanted our new hire to get a better idea of our daily grind. Oh, but do let me know if we need to make adjustments to mediatric nutrition, will you? I'll be on standby. With a curt nod, the receptionist turns her back. You hear a click, then a dial tone, and the phone's ceaseless screaming abruptly cuts off. Across the glass, Emiliano thrashes with all his might, the sound of his screeching muted once again. So, what do you think? Whoo. I will pretend to be calm and curious. You've studied childhood trauma long enough to know explosive reactions incite abusers to commit further violence. Even though it almost kills you, you keep your voice as steady as possible, expressing mild surprise and even milder confusion about the absolute nightmare unfurling before you. Mr. Burgard looks pleased as punch by your polite interest. A seismic laughter creeps up his cavernous throat as he gestures to the two Emilianos. I'm glad you're coming to this with an open mind. Most recruits get surprisingly antsy at this stage of our proceedings. What you see here is the most common and most heavily patented human resource service Smyrna provides. We replace troublesome members of society with specially trained, lab-raised actors that will live more efficient lives in our target's place. And what's more, we've performed today's processes all according to your specifications. Your specifications? You had nothing to do with this. Unperturbed by your protest, Burgard motions to the silhouetted surgeons currently picking at both Emiliano's wet and naked craniums. First, as standard procedure, we have our doppelgangers undergo extensive surgeries. This ensures their size and appearance matches their target. However, we also perform highly precise neural excisions and hormonal dosing sessions to ensure both replacement and replacee have identical synaptic pathways. This means they'll share the same tastes, reflexes, and handicaps wherever applicable. In this case, we've altered portions of the cortex related to all those troublesome self-regulation behaviors Aguilar once used to cope with his childhood traumas. It was a wise suggestion of yours to address such foundational behavior-based shortcomings directly at their source. After completing his bleak announcement with a showman's tone, the giant points to the device on his desk. Its myriad cables run along the floor and worm their way through slits in the two-way glass, connecting to the flashing televisions hanging above the patients' faces. Next, we bombard our subjects with doctored historical information, falsified childhood memory footage to rewrite their lived experiences. This will erase problematic attitudes and induce more desirable productivities. Giving Ender's Game vibes, oh jeez. This also extends to teaching of new morals or religious beliefs, which you suggested should be done to treat extreme societal cases. And while Mr. Aguilar had some rather distasteful political views at the core of his character, rest assured, we've replaced them with better values, which align nicely with company interests. With an emphatic flourish, Via tweaks another one of this machine's many knobs. A television screen flickers, replacing its gruesome slideshow of warfare footage with pictures of a pastoral farm. The louder Emiliano squirms and then screeches. Finally, the tweed behemoth nods to Melusine, whose eyes glance between both her patients, taking notes whenever one of them imitates the other. The two are becoming increasingly impossible to tell apart. Last but not least, Miss Sunsains arguably has the most important task of all, quality assurance. You see, our procedure is human, not mechanical. Instinct trumps algorithm when it comes down to understanding people. Thus, it's imperative for staffers with an eye for social cues to study the effects of non-sedated lobotomies, particularly during back-and-forth exchanges between target and replacement. This allows us to adjust mediatric nutrition quickly and to identify overlooked flaws in body language, voice modulation, or personality. All this ensures our doppelgangers perform their jobs correctly. In other words, she will be ensuring that at least one of these Aguilars exterminates their family members correctly. Miss Sansains is a woman who comes up with solutions, you see, not excuses. Holy shit, he wasn't lying. You may not have pulled the trigger, but you did help him load the gun. As you reel from the weight of revelation, Abuya holds up 3 fingers. One by one, he curls them down. Physical rewiring, psychological reconditioning, social reintegration. These are the pillars upon which Smirnocor's substitution services are built. This is how we guarantee the tens of thousands of doppelgangers currently deployed to the public perform exactly as they must. It's how our company has controlled the course of human civilization for years upon years, steering it in whatever direction our executives deem right. It's how the right people have shown up at the right times and the right places, how the wrong items or ideas have never appeared at inopportune occasions, and it's how you will help us do our job, regardless of which department you are ultimately assigned to. So, are there any further questions about your new job's responsibilities? I'm going to disappear, and also this guy has probably been replaced. Question, screw you.
You won't get away with this. Why the hell is Smirnocore doing this to people?
Why didn't my aunt tell me about this? Why didn't my aunt tell me about this? The only logical explanation is she didn't know this kind of insanity was occurring at her workplace. After all, the woman can definitely be a little heartless, but she wouldn't stoop to getting you a job torturing people to get her rent money. Would she? Oh, I'm afraid your aunt was very aware of the procedures we conduct here. She's undergone one herself, after all. It's part of what makes her such an exceptional recruiter. But please, don't resent her for keeping so much sensitive information confidential. To borrow an expression, we have many fingers shoved quite deep into a surprising amount of pies. Blech. The tweed behemoth spreads his arms, taking up a dramatic stance. His muscular limbs cast a vast, all-consuming shadow, much like the one his company must cast over the world. It's the John Carpenter's The Thing but corporate. Brain pies. Societies, you see, are merely sets of rules, meant to control select populaces, enforced by means of moral codes and legislative threats. Histories are not but narratives parading as objective fact, deterministically controlling the future by redefining the past. Economies are broad equations engineered to establish hierarchies and restrict freedoms indirectly. Our missive is to alter the evolution of all these entities everywhere in the world for the betterment of our species. This can mean overturning governments with silent revolutions, establishing or destroying businesses to reroute the flow of wealth, even altering history in ways that force us to reinterpret the present. All the world's a stage, men and women merely players, but Smirnocore is the playwright, casting every actor's war. Every actor's war? Been talking too much. Every actor's role. Today, your role has been decided too, and if you can't keep a roof over your head, you should refrain from delivering a disappointing performance. The giant's index finger prods your chest as he speaks. Each tap is like a bullet thudding against a Kevlar vest. Across the mirror, Emiliano screams as though he felt those gunshots too. His cries an ode to the dark future which awaits you. A future of perpetual, inescapable servitude. Bui is right, you need money. Agree to work here. I mean, I assume that if you say no, that it just ends the game. So, agree to work here until you've saved enough to quit. The thought of helping these monsters makes you sick, but turning down the offer means you'll end up on the street. Thus, you promise Burgard to work hard and do better than Emilio. For now. Wonderful, but be advised you'll need to perform very well for a very long time if you intend your time with us to be temporary. After all, we've already signed our first contract, and its strictest clauses do not expire any time soon. The man's pale eyes drift towards your hand, the one he shook that you thought was bleeding. Looking into your palm, you realize the hunch was fully justified because something did pierce it. There's a lump beneath the skin, a small, subtle, rectangular protrusion you hadn't noticed until now. Probably because it wasn't flashing, let alone making such an obnoxious sound. This, my friend, is what we refer to as a non-disclosure microchip, a brand new addition to our confidentiality policy, specially designed by our future partners at Radium Inc. It serves as an ID to access our offices, but also as an employee loyalty failsafe. Should you ever emit brain activity associated with treason, unauthorized divulsion of confidential data, or any other such nasty business, the chip will emit a warning signal. Should the warning go unheeded, a lethal dose of barodium-210 will be discharged, a nigh untraceable radiotoxic isotope capable of inducing total organ shutdown within seconds. In other words, lest you care to experience a particularly messy demise, I suggest you remain on your best behavior until you die of natural causes. I have obtained the non-disclosure microchip. The microchip starts beeping faster until it matches the demented tempo of your beating heart. No telling which of the two is about to explode first. The signal is interrupted by Mr. Burgard tisk-tisking as he checks his belt-sized watch. Dear me, seems I lost track of time. All the appointments beckon. I'm afraid our meeting is at an end. You had best return home and get plenty of rest. You'll need it for your onboarding. Oh, and please don't consider suicide as a solution to prematurely terminate your employment. I'm well aware of your unfortunate mental health diagnoses, but I'd be ever so happy to see such a predictable scenario. I'd be ever so unhappy to see such a predictable scenario come to pass, especially since we'd just be wasting time replacing you with a doppelganger or otherwise. I recommend you try enjoying this if you can. Your moral crises and panic attacks should be like water, running off the proverbial duck's back. As Oboya chuckles, an elevator door screeches open behind you. The open shaft greets you like the gaping maw of a sun-sea fish. You glance between it and your manager, debating which is worse, wondering if you can really leave. When the behemoth smirks and winks at you, amused by the fear, you make a run for it. Your fingers mash every single button on the keypad's confusing display, hoping some combination of keys will get you away as far as possible. Eventually, the grillage gate slams shut. The floor lurches upward, and Mr. Burgard waves goodbye, speaking the most chilling words you've heard all day. See you tomorrow. Your microchip's alarm slows to a crawl as all your hopes and dreams die in a slow, whimpering death. Congratulations! You're hired. Woo! We did it! Very, very cool. Some of the flowery language, here and there, some of the flowery language almost feels like almost too thick, too much, but that's just a personal preference. That's not like it's very well written.